Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Grin and Guardian Gang. We have a special Friday the 13th edition with a great author tonight, and we're going to have lots of fun. I am joined by my wonderful paranormal, I think you're more paranormal than normal, assistant, Cheyenne. How are you tonight?
Did you miss us?
Yeah. Oh, somebody send Andy the link. I forgot to send him the link. Okay. He just messaged me. So let's see. Tonight we have Jamie Davis. He is an author of multiple books. He is a field paramedic, nurse, extraordinaire. Let's just bring him out and let him talk about it. Jamie, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey,
thanks for being here.
We are glad you're here, especially on Friday the 13th with your books. I've been looking at them all day and like, wow, these are some cool things.
Yeah, born of many years running late night calls, and had a patient one night that said he was a werewolf. And on the way back from the hospital, I said to my partner, I was like, what if he really was a werewolf? And that just set me down a whole path. And before I knew it, it took a while. That was about 10 years before I started writing the books. But ever since then, every time I had a patient that was a little off, I just started wondering what kind of supernatural creature were they, and that helped me.
You're not a werewolf, are you?
Well, we do a paranormal show on Wednesdays, the Paranormal Guys, and we actually had a guy that was booked at the beginning of last month. And he said he was a werewolf. Hey, Andy, welcome. Sorry, I forgot to send the link to the chat, Andy. And it was a full moon and he didn't show up. And then I've never heard back from him. So I'm still wondering.
We all just went, oh, that's why.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, he hasn't the fest.
We should check up on him.
It shows unread. So I wondered what is it? They stick a wood stake in his heart or a silver bullet, whatever it is they do to werewolves, if somebody got him that night.
Prayers
I was
for him.
along for the ride. If he was really a werewolf, I wanted to hear the story.
He wanted to talk about the weather. I wanted to hear about the weather from a werewolf.
Yeah, he said he could control the weather too. Which
wow.
I thought that was a lie, but who am I to question? You know, I've got another guy who keeps messaging me telling me he's a time traveling vampire and he's going to come on the show, but he can't make time. You got all the time in the world, dude.
You can.
He's got priorities. That's just the way it is.
Maybe he's going to save the world in 2052. Who knows? Jamie, where were you a paramedic at?
I was a paramedic in Cecil County, Maryland. And was chief of my local volunteer department for EMS on the EMS side for a while, and helped out there, and eventually got my nursing degree and was doing that for a while. But the writing bug bit me, and as I retired from having the back injuries that come with many years of bending over in ditches and lifting patients, I just had to get out of that side of things and became a full-time writer. Have several best-selling series, and I was lucky and honored that people liked my stories enough to enable me to do that, and I continue to write today.
That's awesome. Yeah. How many books do you have out total? I was looking at them.
I have 54 books across 7 series. My first series is my largest series with 10 books, and that's the Extreme Medical Services series about supernatural paramedics. And that's a labor of love. And I add a book to that every year or so, every couple of years at the most. I've got another one coming up I'm going to start writing this winter, called The Paramedic Siren, which should, and of course, referring to the supernatural siren as well as
I wish one of the guys that's frequently on our show, Matt, he's in the Navy, and he told us one night on the show, he goes, it's a real thing. Because we were out in the middle of the nowhere on, I don't know what type of ship he was on. He said, but the captain was telling people, come in, have somebody get them and bring them in because they could hear this. I was like, that's weird.
There's a lot of unexplained things out there that, science can tell you sort of what they think it might have been, but at the end of the day, it can't really explain.
They've got no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Bigfoot's mine. Yeah, I'm with you. So
I honestly believe that, this is the premise of my books, but I honestly believe, there could be a whole separate world living alongside us that looks as human as you and I, but really have another side to them. And that's why the paramedics in my stories can treat them, because they're as human as you or I in most cases. And they have asthma and heart disease and diabetes. And the fact the first case my paramedic, Proby paramedic runs into in the first book is a werewolf who gets low blood sugar and ends up losing control and starting to shift. And they have to give him some glucagon to bring him back. So
a werewolf with the sugars.
And he's just an ordinary accountant who's, down on his luck and not managing his blood sugar. So it is what it is.
That's great.
We've got a vampire with the diabetes.
I guess you can't drink the blood of somebody who's just had a candy bar, because you'll get too much sugar, and then you're in doubt, then you're up the creek.
And then how do you judge? Can they smell that? Like, oh no, you just had a Snickers.
No, that's one of the things I tried to make the medicine like accurate, even though they're supernatural creatures. There's like little tongue-in-cheek humor about how the things affect different mythical beings in different ways who have different human diseases. So it's kind of fun.
That sounds very fun.
Figuring that milligram to kilogram for a Bigfoot who weighs 900 pounds. What the hell? I don't have enough drugs.
That's great.
But, we always did wonder, late night, you're sitting around the station, you're bored, you're talking, and we're like, well, what if some of this stuff is true? What if this, weird stuff happens? And, of course, during my career, we've had very weird things happen. So, it's not, I don't want to say it's a far stretch, but we had a guy who
is it that far-fetched?
Well, we had a guy that come to our station every year on Christmas Eve. He looked just like Santa. And swear to God, we sent Rookie out to look when he came in, because he came in and he knew all of our names. And we were like, okay, another shift. Somebody's put him up to this. We sent Rookie out to look for a car. We're like, okay, he's pulled up in an LTD. He's hanging out back. There's and Rookie come back and he's like, there's no car out there. And I'm like, did you check the roof? What are we doing here? So, we were really like, go.
You go back out and you check the roof.
the dude knew our names. He remembered us from if we had worked Christmas Eve or Christmas before. It was really weird. And he was talking to Cap. We were at the front of the engine out the bay. And Cap said he turned around and he was gone. I don't have a clue where he went. And Rookie's like, there's no car. He's like, I didn't see him drive off. To this day, we still have no idea where the guy comes from. And I keep up with Station 19, and he still shows up.
Wow.
And it's been...
He was checking to make sure just as we're naughty or nice.
Well, we were firemen. We were definitely naughty. But yeah, it was weird. He'd show up and hand out candy canes, and he knew us all. So I don't know. So where did besides for the first one you said was the werewolf with the sugars, what else have
oh well, our paramedics have run into all kinds of things. They've run into succubuses who can seduce men and women with their voices. And of course, if you have someone that's having an altered mental status situation for some reason, they may be enticing people to do things even though they didn't want to. And so you start having a following. I have a zombie chef that cooks for the crew at the EMS station. He lost his trailer home when he was living in, and it's actually based loosely on a real call, because at the end of the time when they come to rescue him, he was choking on something, and they Heimlicked him, and he spit out what was in his mouth, and like half his arm fell off at the same time, and so they had to reattach the arm, and then and he brought out a baggie full of brownies he just baked, and they drove off, and they're like, "We're not going to eat these, right?" But it turns out he's a real 5-star chef, and he needs a place to live, so they do a digit check every time he brings them dinner to make sure there's not something that got lost in the stew. And then they eat the delicious food he makes. And every year I post a couple of recipes around the holidays that supposedly Freddy the Zombie Chef makes for the cruise, and so people can try some of the recipes out.
I love that so much. Cool.
We have
now you need like a siren with bronchitis.
Well, and we have a genie who grants wishes, but the wishes don't happen the way you want them to happen, because that's how genies work, right? They always grant the wishes in a backward sort of way. And there's a scene where they show up, and out of nowhere, this like 40-pound frozen turkey goes flying by, crashes through the wall, and disappears. And then they see the genie cowering behind the couch, and they go, "What happened? What happened? What happened?" And he's like, "Well, the guy told me to make him quit smoking cold turkey, and it blew out of the freezer in the basement, and we can't stop it." So things like that happen.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's really great.
After many years, I'm sure you've got quite a sense of humor and a collection of stories to draw on.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that scene with the brownies, we went to a choking call. It was resolved before we got there, but we came in and checked out the patient, and it was a very poorly kept home, and just dirty, and the kitchen was dirty, dishes with flies buzzing around the pots and stuff in the kitchen. And the mother just baked brownies. That's what the person had choked on. She came out with baggies and gave them to us, and gave them to the responding firefighters too. And we drove off, and the firefighters were waiting down the road and waved us over to them on the shoulder. And we wind down the window and go, "Hey, what's up?" And he goes, "You guys aren't going to eat those, are you?"
I haven't thought about it.
Somebody just choked on them.
Yeah, we had Cookie Girl. It's a similar story. So she was a frequent. I think she had seizures, and she would bring us cookies, and we were like, "We've been in her house. No, we wouldn't even give them to the rookies." So that's pretty bad. How many years total did you spend in the field?
I think it was about 15 total. Then I went administrative, got my nursing degree, did that for a while. Then started writing, and I count my blessings. I really am blessed, because not all writers are able to do what I do, but I was able to, lucky enough to be able to break away and write full time. And I have some very dedicated fans that I'm very appreciative of, and
that's a very niche topic too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
You don't see a lot of.
It's fun.
So.
I get a lot of docs and nurses and other medical folks that really enjoy the books. Because ER nurses are the same way. They
can relate to it, but there's that.
They believe in the full moon too.
There's some truth to the full moon. There's lots of truth to the full moon. So,
well, I can speak to that from working with the elderly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think police, fire, EMS, and nurses all fully believe in the full moon because it's a real thing in ER. They just walk off the street. They don't even come in on the ambulances. They just come in off the street, and you're like, where did you come from?
How did you make it here?
Well, hey, I've had that happen. Somebody comes running in on a snowy night, right, to the ER and says, help, help, and, they have a problem. And how'd you get here? I just got dropped off out front. And you go walk out and there are no tire tracks in the parking lot. They're like, how did they get there? There are no footprints in the snow. There's no tire tracks in the parking lot and creepy stuff. And the person insisted someone dropped them off. So I can't explain it. I don't know why. I don't know how.
Just shake your head and go along with it.
We took care of their problem and they got to spend the night in the hospital and we fixed that. But I don't know how they got there. And of course I was off shift when they left. So who knows who picked them up?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Chris, she was making fun of the elderly earlier. She called me old. So
yes, it was specifically about you, Glenn.
It was. It's always about me. So well, so how long does it take you to write a book? Because this, like I said, I mean, you've got a cachet of memories, but then to transfer it around.
It's interesting. And the first book took me about a year to write, to come up with the ideas and stuff. I actually wrote the first draft of the book in a month. I participated in a thing called NaNoWriMo, which takes place in the month of November. It's called National Novel Writing Month. And authors and writers all over the world challenge themselves to write 50,000 words, which is a mid-range novel, in the space of 30 days. And it comes out to about 1,600 words of text a day for 30 days. You can hit 50,000 words. And I said, well, let's try that. What the heck? How bad can it be? So I just started writing the stories that were in my head down and kind of stitching it together. It was basically just a collection of ambulance calls with an underlying storyline running through it about this paramedic and his preceptor running calls and in their district. And there's a mystery going on in the background. And that was my first book. And then I sat on it and edited it and fiddled with it for about a year and then released it on Amazon. I did self-publish it and it kind of caught on. And I started getting these emails like, hey, when's book 2 coming out? So that took me like 3 months to write. And that was The Paramedic's Angel, book 2. And then I wrote, book 3 because I had to finish up the mystery that I had started in book 1. And so now it takes me about 2 months to turn a book around and get it to my editor. And then the editors turn it around in about a month after that. So I can get a book out in about 3 months. I usually publish.
Wow. That's pretty darn good.
Publish about 4 to 6 books a year.
Wow. Are you still self-publishing or?
Yeah, I'm hybrid published, like say now, because I had a publisher that I published several books through, a sci-fi series of 9 books and an urban fantasy series of 6 books that I published through a publisher. They came to me and asked me to write in a specific genre premise, and I was happy to do that, and that was fun. But I'm happy to publish myself. I end up bringing home a lot more than I would probably make in a publisher. I keep 70 cents on the dollar, basically. Oh. Most publishing deals are around 4 to 6 cents on 4 to 6%. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never realized it was that low. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, now if you're Stephen King and you're selling 1 million books, that's plenty of money. But if you're not, a lot of mid-list authors, have other jobs and things. So I'm very blessed, like I said, that I'm able to make a living and pull my weight in our family between my wife and I to be able to write full time and be available to help family and volunteer when I need to and different things I do around the community and stuff. So I really appreciate the opportunities that have been given to me.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've heard a lot of people say that it's almost not worth putting out through Amazon because of how little you get back.
Yeah, I mean, you can go direct to Amazon and like I said, the rate they pay out is 70%. So the challenge is then finding people to read your books, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of books that come out on a regular basis, new books that are put out all the time. But if you're patient and you build a following one reader at a time, and I'm a personable individual, so I don't mind talking to people online and making connections with folks. And I'm lucky that I had a connection with a lot of responders in different parts of the country that helped spread the word that my book was out and got me a following early on. And I've been able to build upon that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I assume you were a science fiction and horror fantasy type person prior to this?
Oh yeah. I am never without a book. And of course now I carry everything on my phone, but back in the day, I mean, I always had a book in my back pocket and something I could read whenever there was some downtime. I've been reading science fiction since I was old enough to read. I lived 2 blocks from the library in my hometown. So when I was old enough to go out on my own, my mom would send me out. I'd walk over to the library. I'd spend the whole day there. The librarians would just start bringing me piles of books, and I'd sit there and read them and read them and read them. I read mythology books of all kinds. I read all the science fiction and fantasy books they had. And when new books came in, I couldn't be happier. So it was a well-spent youth, I guess you could say.
Very much so.
Served you well. Were you also a comic book fan by any chance?
I did some reading of comic books, but I wasn't, because there weren't a lot of comic books in the library. That was my primary source of reading. I didn't get into comic books till I was older in college. I worked my way through college at 7-Eleven on night shift, and so there was a comic book stand in the magazine rack there. So I'd read through the comic books. I became a real big Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Mary Jane fan during that time frame. Just thought that was I still think Spider-Man's probably one of the best comic book characters ever devised. He's got real problems. He's a real person. He's not, I mean, he's powerful, but he's got a lot of issues. So I think that's good. Agreed.
He is my favorite. So, and it does suck. You can't go to a drugstore, CVS, Walgreens, a Quick Trip, Wawa. There's no comic books anymore. You either order them online or a comic book store specifically. They're hard to find anymore.
Well, they don't even have hardly magazines in those places anymore. I mean, it just, that whole, because everything's gone digital. A lot of those resources have gone away. So.
Yeah, we interviewed an artist the other day, and I asked him about the difference between drawing on a tablet as opposed to paper. And he was like, well, there's no real difference. He goes, but I have more tools now. He goes, I have unlimited paint. I have unlimited pencils. I was like, well, I had never thought of it that way. That's kind of cool. He goes, but I still kind of miss the old way.
Well, with him, like with a lot of other people, it felt like cheating there for a while.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah.
I've had some artwork commissioned by comic book artists for my books. And, scenes from some of my earlier books, especially. I just loved getting, I'd make a little bit of money and I'd go out and I'd get somebody to draw it for me and color it. And I'd always make sure they sent me a paper, an artwork printed version of it in addition to the digital copy. And it's just something about holding that, that physical piece of art in your hand that is special.
Very much so.
Agreed. Agreed. I still have my comic book. I still get comic books. So even though I get them on Amazon as well. So my wife's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, well, it's
I can hold it in my hand.
cool. Well, now with the graphic novel, you can get, back when I was a kid, you could only get one comic at a time. Now, if you're behind, you can get a graphic novel and get caught up on, 10,
Yeah.
12.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, they bundle the storylines together. It's kind of nice that they do that now in a lot of cases, and makes it easier to stay up to date, because so many things. There's reboots and there's all
different timelines
and the multiverse and all that stuff. So I don't have a multiverse. I do have some books that cross over into other series, so that there's characters that appear in different series that I've written. And that's fun to do. Yeah. It's a nice little Easter egg to drop to readers that follow my different series, that'll say, wait a minute, I know that person. And I just have them pass through the scene. They're only there for maybe part of a chapter and then they're gone. But for those who know, it's fun.
That's probably somebody's favorite part too.
Absolutely. It's got to be a challenge though to put that little snippet in there. So
yeah. Well, one of the favorite characters that readers always come back and say they want more of is this middle-aged, little slightly overweight vampire named Gibby. And Gibby always has lady problems and always tries to find new ways to get a new girlfriend. And my paramedic first meets him when there's a call for a severe allergic reaction, and he shows up, and Gibby his girlfriend works midnights at a convenience store, and Gibby has smeared himself in sunscreen and coated himself in glitter so that he can be one of those shiny, glittery kind of vampires when the sun comes up. Unfortunately, he has a horrible reaction to the sunscreen and needs an epi shot immediately. And meanwhile, we're scraping the sunscreen off of him. So that's how people meet Gibby. And he always shows up in every book in that series and in some other series too, with some interesting comic relief at the right moment.
That's great. Do you have a idea in your head from start to finish when you start to write, or do you I know where I'm going to start and then
let it go from there?
It takes you that way. Yeah.
When I first started writing, I kind of wrote what an author told me is called writing into the dark, which is you kind of have an idea, but you're not sure where it's going to go or how you're going to get there. And you just start writing on faith. And that's how I started writing. I do a little bit more plotting now, but not more than maybe a sentence per chapter, and usually, the later chapters of a book might have just say chapter 27, big fight scene. Because I know that there's going to be, an encounter that's going to happen in that episode, in that chapter. But I don't know exactly what's going to happen or how they're going to get there. That'll be figured out in the chapter before. But I still kind of write into the dark in that sense. I find that if I just trust my imagination, the ideas come to me as I'm writing. And I know it sounds crazy, but I just do what the characters tell me they're going to do. And
no, it's not crazy at all.
And they just do what they're supposed to do. I put them in a situation and then I let them figure their own way out of it. And by the end of the book, they find a way out.
I love that. That's great.
Mm-hmm. But you start putting yourself into the mind of that character of okay, well, how would they?
Right. Exactly. It is exactly that.
It would be easy for them to do it this way, but they're stubborn, so they would go do it this way and make it harder for themselves.
I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me where I think, this I should be able to wrap this book up in a chapter or two. And, 6 chapters later, the characters have gone off on some side thing and it was infinitely more fun to do it that way. And I wish, I didn't think of it right away, but the characters took me on a different path, and we still got to the ending, but not the way I thought it was going to get there.
Yeah, Cheyenne's my writer. She likes to write. I have been dabbling here lately, but I want to write a textbook more than I want to write a novel. So I'm kind of, and I have been struggling with that this week. I have been working on it a lot. The premise in our EMS training, I was attacked by a dog on duty, and my left hand, I can use my left hand, but I just can't grip or squeeze anything. So essentially,
so you can just call the textbook My Left Hand.
I could use that.
Right?
For a different textbook, I would call it A Stranger. But so I was trying to decide. I have not seen any textbook teaching us or training us in my entire career on animal attacks. And in my career, I've come across everything's from snakes to tigers. And so I'm like, but nothing prepares you. I mean, we're talking domestic animals. So I've been sitting down trying to do animal psychology and research and stuff. And I got to a point the other day where I'm like, okay, I've got to narrow this down because I'm out here being attacked by sharks. I don't think a paramedic would be in that situation. But I mean, maybe if you worked in Hawaii or somewhere, I don't know. But
there you go.
Yeah. So, and I try, and I don't want to take it to a point where I get to, okay, well, then they were attacked. You're going to bandage. You're going to do this. I don't want to be a protocol book. I want to use the animal psychology and how to self-defense, save yourself, or in the first place, never get attacked. That would be optimal. So
it's been a challenge. I mean, I've been in those situations where, you have a patient down and their dog is standing over them, and you're not sure what that dog's going to do as you approach, but you have to approach. Yeah. So, I always, my go-to trick was to hold the BLS bag in front of me, two-handed like this, and waiting for the dog to jump at me. And, I was going to fend it off with that in some way, shape, or form. But in every situation, I don't know if the dog sensed that we were there to help or what, but we were able to start working on the patient and lure the dog away into a room where we could shut the door and do our work. So, or a family member would show up and take the dog away. But, we would there, it's a challenge. And I think that's probably worth putting a book out there about that for, to at least give people some strategies and tactics that they can use to be prepared, at least in some way. Say, all right, what am I going to do in this situation? What do I have on me that I can use to fend off an animal like that? And be prepared.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And we had just had a police training, self-defense class, and our tool, our pocket knife, we were trained to keep in our non-dominant pocket because you're going to be pushing off with, in my case, my right hand, because I'm right hand dominant. And so all of us had just put our pocket tool in my left pocket. And I grew up around a veterinarian. My uncle's a veterinarian. I don't have a fear of animals, still don't. And I have been in many situations with animals where it's questionable. Never saw this one coming. And so that's what made me start thinking
you were told about it.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you the paranormal part of it, if you want to call it that. It was a post-ictal patient. He was fighting. They called a mayday because it was the crew of 2, and I was on the engine. It was like right around the corner. And so we hopped on the engine, took off, and got there. And the first thing they teach you, never run on scene, which I now hear there's instructor going around saying that's BS. No, you move with purpose. You don't run on scene. Sorry.
I agree with you on that. There's no reason to run. It's their emergency, not your emergency.
That's correct. Yep. And my sergeant jumped off the engine, took off running around the front of the engine. I hop out behind the driver, and as I'm approaching the scene, I know you all heard this story a million times. In my head, I hear this voice say, "Don't get bit." What the hell is this? Am I hearing voices now? And I look on the front porch, and as they're fighting with the post-ictal patient, and they're trying to get the EMT who is trapped inside the house out of the house, there's these yipping chihuahuas. And I'm thinking, oh, I could just punt that little sucker and, data clear, move on. 3-4 steps later, the voice screams in my head, "Don't get bit." And I'm like, what in the hell? As once again, data clear. I look around. I should have trusted my senses, my spidey sense, if you want to call them, or angel, or whatever the heck it was. But I was like, okay, data clear. I got this. I've been on these scenes before. And when she first bit me, there was no growling, there was no snarling, no running up at you. She snuck around just like you see on the nature things, came up behind me and grabbed my left hand.
Wow.
And I didn't know I was bit the first 2 times she bit. It happened so quick, and it wasn't as painful as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't until she started tearing and that I realized I was bit. She had my hand in her mouth. She was a pit bull, and she was pulling me to the ground, and I had no clue. And I'm trying to think, okay, poke her in the eyes like a shark. That literally was the first thing that came to my mind. Didn't work. Didn't work. Here to tell you, it didn't work. So I'm going down. There's a pit bull pulling me down. And I got to thinking, my uncle had told me as a kid, kick him in the chest, reset their electrical system. Makes sense as a paramedic now that, I think about it. And she got a swift kick in the chest. And once she had the wind knocked out of her, and I was on my knee by that time, the fight and her was over. She was gone. So,
wow.
Yeah. I never, like I said, I never saw it, never heard it, but I should have listened to that sixth sense, but it's too late now. So yes, I go up and the paramedic screaming, he needs drugs for this and that. And I'm like, you're going to need another paramedic. He's like, why? I'm like, well, these 3 fingers are down here. This one's stuck up. There's blood pouring out of my glove. My sergeant looked at me and goes, what the hell did you do? I'm like, I just got attacked by a dog. He's like, you were right behind me, and the driver was behind you. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Don't know. So yeah, it happened, and it happened in a second. So, but I remember thinking to myself when I was hopping down off the engine, I saw my sergeant run. I'm like, we don't run on the scene. Plus I'm old. I'm fat. I ain't going to run. So it's like, they're going to be just fine. PD will be here in 30, 45 minutes. So I was not attacked by a tiger. I ran a call where there was tigers involved. There's a difference. And Andy, your fans are here. So, but yeah, so we encounter wildlife all the time. I mean, the snake calls. Yep. I remember my very first time I ran a snake bite, and I was like, I'm not afraid of snakes, but I was a little freaked out by it. Because they were like, it's right over there. And I'm like, no, don't want to see it. Let's just go to the hospital.
Don't pick up the snake. Don't bring the snake along.
True story. I got to tell you the story.
Doctors don't want to see the snake.
Unless you're
a lie. That is a lie.
That is a big lie.
One of my former co-hosts, she does her own show now, Brenda. She's in a wheelchair. She has one good leg. And she's got this little tiny yipping chihuahua. She lives in Texas. She was out in her front. Was it her front yard, Andy, or a backyard? I don't remember.
Front yard.
She's in her front yard, and she sees this snake fast moving in on her dog. She's in a wheelchair.
But the dog is old too, so.
So is she. So her first thought was to put her foot between the snake and the dog.
Her only good foot.
Yeah, her only foot.
Yeah.
So. And she's in a wheelchair. She could have run the damn thing over. It's electric. But the snake bites and it gets hung. Was it a copperhead, Andy?
Yeah.
Or was it a regular?
It was a copperhead, and the teeth were actually embedded in the bones of her foot.
Wow.
and it couldn't get out. So it was fighting her, and she's got the one leg up in the air with a snake attached. They called 911. The paramedics put a bag around her leg.
A trash bag
A hefty
over
trash
her
bag.
leg.
Yeah.
Picked it up and took her to the hospital.
Well, yeah, that's the don't remove the impaled object thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't even kill the snake. I mean, you could like. There was a fireman that showed up. There had to have been an axe nearby. I mean, I'm a paramedic. There's no way a live snake is
Cut
getting
the buddy off.
Yeah, so the trauma surgeon had to be the one to kill the snake.
Oh,
And they wouldn't
he loved that.
and they wouldn't let her keep it.
She wanted to keep this. What the hell's wrong with you? So there you go. There's a story for you.
That's fantastic.
And it's true. So I can introduce you to Brenda. She's got a show going on tonight, I think. So she isn't listening. But yeah, I was like, why did they transport your one good leg? I was like, and I'm trying to think in my head. I've been out of the field for, since 22 now. And I'm like, no, we just still cut the snake. Not in Texas, apparently.
Then she got sick from the venom.
Yeah, the venom.
She was a little twitchy for a while.
Yeah, they had to give her so much venom because it was a small one, and it was still obviously, I guess, injecting.
Yeah, it looked like it sounded like she had Tourette's at one point.
Yeah, she twitched. It was funny. We made fun of her. But she's okay now, so there's nothing wrong with nothing more than normal wrong with her. But.
Nothing physically wrong more than normal.
Exactly.
Should lose her other leg. So. Good Lord. But but once again, it's a type of weird thing you run into in EMS, You
never know. You absolutely never know. You can't say you've seen it all because somebody will prove you wrong.
Absolutely. Hold my beer. Something's about to happen.
And come to find out, there was a Proby EMT on the ambulance, and they made him wrap the trash bag around the snake.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, I'd probably, if I was going to do it that way, I
was going to say, you totally would have been like, nope, you're doing it.
Yeah, that would have been, yeah. Well, I was rookie at one point, so yeah, things you do, but yeah.
Welcome to EMS.
That's the story that they'll get to tell for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Brand new in his career. He got it to start with.
They made me put a freaking trash bag over a live snake on a lady's leg. She only had one leg.
One-legged lady.
Well, we had a patient. Speaking of strange reptiles, we had a call for a pedestrian struck at the middle of the night, and we drive up the road to the highway, and something looks like there's something round about the size of a human head in the middle of the road. And oh my God, the Proby that was with us looking up, he's in the back. He's in that little alleyway between the front seats, looking up from the front. And he goes, "Oh my God, it's a head." No, it was a run over snapping turtle.
Oh, jeez.
The pedestrian that was struck was over on the shoulder. He had seen this poor defenseless turtle crossing the road. And he pulled over to help the turtle off the highway. And he picked up the snapping turtle, which promptly bit him, latched on,
and wouldn't let go.
And according to the car that sideswiped him, was that he was running around back and forth across the highway, waving his arm in the air with the snapping turtle hanging on to it. And only when he got sideswiped by the car and broke his leg in two places did the turtle go flying off to land in the middle of the road and promptly get run over by another passing vehicle.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Don't look. Just don't. I know you want to save the turtles, but not in the middle of
You could have let that one go. You could have let that one go.
There were too many cars going by to be doing something like this. So
wow.
And literally the first words I heard from the individual as I approached to start doing patient care was, "Damn turtle, damn turtle." Damn turtle.
Oh, you would have heard every word under the sun from me if that was the case.
It was just, yep. Fun stories.
Oh yeah, we had a structure fire, and the house. We didn't know this. It was in our first. Well, I guess it was our second due, but we were on the hazmat team, so we got called in for manpower, and so they send us in to do a primary. So, the spokes banked down. We're doing the fireman crawl. We're on our knees, basically. We're not gonna crawl through a building, and so they had already said that there were some animals in the backyard, not to go out the back deck. So we were like, okay, good, check. So I'm going down a hallway and open a door, and this, Cheyenne, you'll have to help me with the name of it, but this lizard that is huge, it's a huge lizard, sticks its head right eye to eye. Yeah, I guess that's what it was. Eye to eye with me and my face piece. And I'm like, nope, you're not going to make it. Close the door. So I come back out, and
like, was it clear?
Like it was big? Yeah, it was big. It was about 4 foot long. Yeah,
it was probably a monitor lizard then.
And it was in a front room, so it wasn't going to be shish kebab. I mean, they were aggressively fighting the fire in the back corner of the house, and come out, and Chief says all clear. I said, well, except for there's a Loch Ness monster in that front room, and he's like, what? And so he ended up, one of the captains was a reptile person and knew exactly what it was. He went in and brought him out. And I was like, nope, not me. Yeah, I'll never forget opening the door. I mean, it was like eye to eye with me and my face. So I'm like, nope. You're going to make it through this one. Yeah,
those things can be mean too.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't have, yeah. Sorry, that would have been the same reaction on my part.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they've got a pretty good containment. You may get some smoke inhalation. I don't know if lizards can handle it or not, but you're on your own, bud.
Well, and who's going to give oxygen to the lizard after the fire if it does survive the fire? So
yeah.
Where do you put the nasal cannula on the lizard?
The guy that knows the lizards, he's in charge of that.
That's right. All right. Yeah, here's the non-rebreather mask. You take care. It's blowing oxygen right now, and you figure out.
You got to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. True story. I got a citation from the chief, or accommodation, and written up in 48 hours from the same Hazmat 19. We were on a call, and we were waiting for orders while these two buildings are burning down, and the chiefs are running around, and somebody dropped a cat out of a window, and I saw the cat twitching underneath the window. I was like, Cap, I think we can save that cat. And he's like, well, we ain't got any other orders. So we went, and there's literally a team of 5 of us working on this cat. It was probably the most rewarding out of my entire career arrest I had, because I literally watched its pupils go from big and huge to coming back down to normal and then having a little bit of fight. It was probably one of the most rewarding ones. We got written up for it because we weren't supposed to be doing that. But then little did they know, the news media had been filming the whole thing from like a parking lot over. So it made the news, and then we were heroes when we came back in.
That's right. It's a PR win.
Here's your notice back.
Yeah. So I got in trouble because, on the fire truck, you put a little Maltese cross for every rescue, your company does. It's a matter of pride. I went and got a gold foil cat paw. Put on Hazmat 19.
I'd have done that all day long. That would have been. I completely agree with you. I think that deserves to be there just as much.
Screw you guys. We made the news. I'm putting it on there.
Yeah, I took the write up for that. They didn't take it off though. Yes, Jamie. We're here to hear Jamie's stories, not mine.
Oh no, I'm not feigning interest. I promise you. For those that know, this is what we do when we're not running calls. We sit around and share the old war stories, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's therapy.
It is 100% that the truth.
Because I mean, I have no ambition to go back on an ambulance again. I may miss it, but I don't have any ambition to do it again.
It's the young man. It's the young man's job.
You miss it, but you miss the good parts.
Yep.
Yeah. My body's reminding me of the other parts as I get older.
You know, I operated mostly in a small town, and so every now and then I have those happy moments of running into former patients, and they have fond things to say, and that's a touching and heartwarming moment. But I also drive past places that were rough calls, and all the time, because it's, my neighborhood. So there's the moments I'm happy to let somebody else take the calls now.
Oh yeah. I started in Virginia, then went to Knoxville, and I came to Atlanta because that's where the jobs were. And yeah, I'm glad that I don't live in the county I worked in, because there's, even like if I have to go to Atlanta for something, I avoid neighborhoods. It's a true thing. So you just compartmentalize. It's over there.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. You compartmentalize it, and you work through some of that, and it's difficult. We've got people we all know that have had to respond to family members or respond to people they know very well in difficult situations, and that's hard to do, and keep your professionalism and keep your head in the game in the midst of something that's deeply personal. Oh
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I was a rookie medic in East Tennessee, a seasoned medic told me, he said, try your best not to work in the same area you live. He said, especially because in East Tennessee, it's very rural, very, small town, or it was at the time. It's grown up, but he said, because you will see things about your neighbors you don't want to know. So, he was right. No, but so how many stories you think you got left in you, Jamie?
Well, people keep asking me that, and I've got a spreadsheet right now that has at least 30 more storybook ideas written down on it beyond the ones I've already written. And I keep adding to it. There's just life is full of great stories, just full of them. I mean, I can't look at a line of ants walking towards an anthill without thinking, well, where have they been and what have they been doing? Are they on their way back from a raid? Are they looking for food? What are they doing? And those, that could be a story for me. I just don't, I don't know where they're going to come from, but life is full of great stories, and they deserve to be told. And, one of the things I try to do is just keep weaving themes of family and importance of family and close relationships into my stories. Because that's the things that make life worth living.
So
that's true.
Do you find yourself putting not just the experiences, but a lot of your own self into your characters?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think there's a little bit of me in all of them, some more than others. There's a series I'm writing right now that's it's about a bachelor uncle who becomes the guardian of his niece and nephew, and then finds out they're magical and has to raise them to adulthood while they're being, all the shenanigans happen with having magical children, because, children are bad enough. Could you imagine what they can do if they can pull the wool over your eyes, literally? And that just dates back to a time when I was, basically Mr. Mom. I was working nights and then home with the kids all day, while my wife worked during the day, and I'd work the nights. And so there's a lot of me and Uncle Chip, because I use all those stories of me raising my kids during, taking them to school and doing all that stuff. So that's a whole series I'm writing right now that really harkens back to my quote unquote Mr. Mom days.
One of our viewers says that you write paranormal novels about 911. Have you got any real encounters?
Yeah, I talked about that first encounter that gave me the initial idea for the stories, years before I ever started writing them down. But, I've had patients that have just not been totally explainable. And I guess that's the best way to put it. I've had, the patients that say they're some kind of paranormal being or something. And I've had other patients that have, that have claimed to worship something other than normal things. And then when you deal with them and you help them with their problem, unexplained things happen around it. And you can't explain, I've had patients that have been unconscious, and then the lights in the back of the unit go out for no apparent reason. Nobody hit the switch. Nobody did anything. And by the time I struggle my way across the dark back of the ambulance in the middle of the night to turn the lights back on, I turn around and the patient's sitting up on the cot staring at me. Now they were unconscious, capital U, unconscious.
Back to sleep, buddy. Back to sleep.
I just
lay down.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it. There's no reason for those lights to have gone out, but whatever happened reinvigorated that patient.
He got shocked in a different way.
Yeah.
I had Jesus appear in my ambulance one night. I was like, "Oh, I hope he's a paramedic."
Hello, sir.
I was a brand new rookie, so I was like, "Well," and the guy he cardiac arrested immediately after he saw Jesus. So I was like, "Oh, great! You could help me out here a little bit." I'm with you.
No, we need him to go the other direction, not that way.
No, not towards the light.
Don't go to the light. Come back. Let's see. Have we responded to a spontaneous combustion person, and is it a real phenomena?
Oh, I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's talking about the
spontaneous human combustion. I've never witnessed it. I've had plenty of burn patients, some pretty bad ones, but all explainable. Automobile fires and things like that following an accident or something like that. House fires and things of that nature. Kitchen fires, a lot of grease fires. Those things get out of hand real fast, and you splattered grease all over. You don't realize how much grease gets on you when you're standing in front of a frying pan. But when that fire catches and sets your t-shirt on fire because it's got grease all over it.
The fire knows.
Yeah, the fire knows. But I've never had anything unexplainable that has been related to burns.
We have, and I assume they're in other parts of the country. Here in Atlanta, they're like little kiosks at parking lots that are wing places. And they're great little fire traps. They go up quick. A dude slipped and fell in this 4 foot by, I don't know, I'll say it was probably, maybe it's 8 foot by 4 foot cubicle, and went to catch himself and put his hand all the way up to his elbow in the fry pan.
Oh,
yeah, that was bad. But when we got there, they were still making wings.
Wow.
I was like, well, alrighty then.
Priorities, people.
Yeah, well,
business was booming.
Yeah,
I'm to make the donuts.
Wings with a little bit of human flesh mixed in is always a little better, crispy.
And just it's kind of like MSG. It just adds a little something.
I did have a lineman that got shocked, and he was literally thrown from the boom of the truck down well across the street, and his boots were sitting in the middle of the street smoking, and he was sitting up asking where he was. So, and we still don't know how his boots got off and was perfectly smoking right in the middle of the street. We were like, how the hell did that happen?
Shoes come off when stuff happens to people. I've noticed that shoes come off pretty easily, even no matter how tightly they're tied. You hit somebody hard enough with something, the shoe will come off. And I've seen that in pedestrians versus vehicles. You'll see for every single one, there's at least one shoe or boot or something in the street. Yeah. And I don't disagree that it could happen because, it certainly makes sense. That's a lot of force striking all at one time, and anything that's loose is going to come off. So,
yeah, he was fine. He didn't want to go to the hospital. I think you kind of got to go at this point. I'm not sure of the protocol, but I'm almost positive you got to go.
When you have that elderly gentleman that goes out to adjust the downspout in the thunderstorm because otherwise he'll get water in his basement, and is gripping the aluminum downspout to redirect the water flow as the lightning strikes their house. And then they insist that there's no reason for them to go to the hospital, despite the fact that they took a pretty good jolt. Yeah. That was my father-in-law. So, and I said, just humor me. Just go to the hospital and tell them you were struck by lightning.
Just see the reaction. Just see what their thoughts are.
Yeah, that was an immediate rush back for a complete workup.
Yeah. And the thing is, you go into the hospital and you get these crazy calls and you tell the nurse or the doctor or whatever, and they don't even bat an eye. They're like, okay. Like, they don't, let me just tell you this weird story, but they're like, oh, okay. It's like they don't even think twice about it.
He was a fine gentleman and an amazing individual, but we all have our foibles when it comes to things like that. We just don't think we need to go. And
I feel fine. It's fine.
Tickle. Yeah.
I feel am I why is everything shaking?
Yeah, we had a similar story. A gentleman that was playing Frogger in the road, and he didn't get hit. He got tagged by the mirror, the truck as it went by. And we got there, he's arguing with PD, who's like telling him he's drunk, and I'm like, no, dude's got a head injury. That's what's wrong with him. And cops still arguing with him, and he doesn't want to go with me. And I'm like, you need to go with me, because going with him is going to be even worse. But going with me is probably for the best. We're arguing for like 10 minutes. Finally, dude falls out in the middle of the street and starts having a seizure. I'm like, I win this one, officer. So I'm taking
Thank you.
So, you can follow me, but
they would have called you back.
Exactly.
That would have been a real fast turnaround.
When one of my first welcomes to Atlanta, we go down on a street. It's a pretty well-known street in Atlanta, Ponce de Leon, and there's a cruiser off the side of the road, and there's a guy in the back of it kicking, screaming, beating the hell out of the inside of the car. And the cops are telling me I need to do something about it. And I'm like,
you're the cop.
It's not really
in the back of your car.
It's not my job. And so in Tennessee, we had RSI protocol, rapid sequence innovation. In certain instances, in a certain period of time, you were allowed to do things like that. And I was like, well, I don't know, none of our protocols allow for this. And so I said, well, hold on, I'll call medical director and see what he says. And so I called, I'm trying to explain this to the doc on the box. And I stick the phone into the little window at the back of the car where this guy is foaming, screaming, biting, doing everything he can. And I'm like, so doc, what are my orders?
Does that tell you enough?
Because if I bring him in, he's going to be hogtied, and I'm going to let him off my stretcher as soon as he gets to you. So, Jamie, any other good paranormal stories for Friday the 13th?
Well, I think I've gone through all the ones that aren't complete fiction off the top of my head. The other ones I write in my books. So, those are the ones that I enjoy the most, is when I can come up with a good fictional version of a story, a call that could make sense, but is even more fun when it's somehow mythically tied to something else.
Well, if you watch our Wednesday show, we got a bunch of paranormal people on. We may give you some ideas.
And I've got a good friend of mine who's a medic who out in Kansas City that also is a paranormal investigator. I'm going to need to hook you guys up.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I'd love
please.
it. We always love it. Listen, I don't want to keep you longer than an hour. I promise you that. Tell everybody where they can find your stuff, because you got some great stuff out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You can find everything that I have available for you over at jamiedavisbooks.com. And of course, you can just search for Jamie Davis on Amazon and look for fantasy and science fiction books there.
It's on Audible.
And on Audible and all the other audiobook stores and things as well. So I try to be, I really love audiobooks myself. So I really work hard to get my books out in audio as much as I can. And that's a labor of love there, because I really I actually have gotten to know a couple of the narrators quite well, and they do a great job. And I hats off to them, because they add extra life to my characters that I never thought of. So thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. Check out the website for more. You can get a lot of my audiobooks in bundles on my website for a lot better bargain than you might be able to get elsewhere. So if you check out my web store, you can get stuff like that. And of course, I'm going to send the hosts of the show my EMS crew pin for my paranormal paramedics. And you can get these on the store as well. So if anybody wants to get a copy themselves, but I'll send one to each of you for having me on the show.
You're awesome.
Thank you.
I'll make sure to get your address. We'll get your coin too. So, Andy, you've been too quiet. Did you have any questions for you? And him are almost neighbors, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Pretty close.
Yeah, you're out in Washington County, I hear?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, awesome. I grew up in Westminster.
Oh, cool.
And then I moved east.
Nice.
Do you have any questions, Andy, before we let him get out of here?
No, I don't.
Talk too much, so we don't.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's been a blast
Thank
chatting
you,
with you all. And
Thank you.
And I love responding to readers. So anybody that has any questions, reach out to me, send me an email, or catch me on social media. And love to respond to folks and chat with people.
Sounds great. And hook us up with your friend that's the paranormal investigator too.
I'll shoot you an email with his contact information. His name's Steve Hayes. He's a filmmaker and paranormal investigator. And he's got several short films that are horror, fantasy related films that are pretty awesome. So
we love it.
Very cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, Jamie, have a great rest of your night. We appreciate your time, and we will talk to you soon. I'll get you the info to get us some patches and pens swapped. So
sounds good. Take care.
All right.
Have a great night.
Thank
guys.
you.
Everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was great. And once again, Andy, you're just too talkative.
I know.
He doesn't ever know how to shut up.
I know. We can't contain him. So,
I know.
well, Andy, I meant to ask you earlier, have you got any new challenge coins lately?
No, but I just found out a little bit ago I got 3 new ones on the way.
You suck, Andy. I just want you to know that you suck. So,
I haven't got any new ones either.
well, I did order one, but I was gonna, since it's been a while since I went to Vermont, I went on a mission, and when I went up there, I got to meet Officer Farva, and yes, it's a real person, and he doesn't want a liter of cola, but a really nice gentleman, and he hooked me up with some coins. Let me see if I can do this a different way here. I will show you guys the coins, because I got some really cool ones along the way. And being that it's Friday the 13th, we always got some craziness going on. So,
Yeah. That's what this whole day's been here in this county.
anything good?
You're telling me, Andy. Jeez. It's been nuts around here.
Just a lot of drunks and overdoses.
It's a normal day in the neighborhood.
We had an overdose on the way to the hospital, and they jumped out of the back of the ambulance while it was on the way to the hospital.
Lord. All right,
He is, Chris. His father-in-law is badass for taking a lightning strike and just shaking it off.
Yeah. I got this. Yeah. All right. I'm trying to figure out how to open this in Chrome. So just y'all carry on for a minute while I figure this out. So.
Yeah, no, I went through the list today to see if there was any update on the news, but apparently the last 3 days have been absolutely ridiculous here with issues with school shootings.
Yeah, I've noticed in a lot of the rural areas that they've had to increase. All right, hold on. I gotta turn this on mute. They've had to increase their security.
Mm-hmm.
When we were out taking our morning break this morning, some of the girls were talking about it, and like literally not even 5 minutes up the road from us, there was issues there. But whenever I went to look it up today, there has been a lot in the last 4 days.
Too many to count.
Right.
So from today.
So this was one that he traded with me. This is a sheriff of Polk County, Florida. If you notice or know anything about Polk County, this is the one that was on the news that was telling people, go ahead and shoot them.
Oh.
So he traded me that one. And that's her accreditations on the back of it. And then, Andy, you'll be jealous. I got one of these, Coffee with a Cop.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Grady J. Yeah, he's a good sheriff.
They just started doing that here in our area.
Is that one of the poker chip ones?
Yes, that one is a poker chip one. And this one is just one he had spare since I overloaded Officer Farva and gave him quite a few. This is from North Carolina. Police, fire, medical. So water rescue. It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's their patch on the back. I'll get to
that's nice.
I'll get to the comments here in a minute, guys. I've only got 2 hands, so let's see. Yeah, Officer Farva hooked me up. Dover, Delaware.
I thought that was a hippo for a minute.
You don't know what you say. It does kind of look like that.
Yeah, it does if you look at it fast enough.
Yeah. I was like, why'd they put a hippo on the police coin? I don't know.
Cops, they're crazy. There.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's nice. And then let's see, Andy, you'll be jealous over this one too. The one that only police officers get, Andy, from protectingtheblue.com when they take their picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you'll be jealous. Wendell, you don't have to tell us you're leaving. So if you ain't gonna hang around. We love you though. Be careful out there on the back of it.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then this was his Officer Farva's agency. He's the chief of courts for the state of Vermont. So I got his personal coin. Kind of cool. So, and I talked him out of, he gave me one of their patches, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, and that's the actual building. I went in, he gave me a tour of it. It's pretty cool. And I was like, dude, out of all the cops, you being in charge of everything, if you ever get a Vermont State Police officer patch, hook me up. He's like, hold on, let me go to my desk. So I got that one just because he was a nice guy. So that's a pretty awesome patch. I think it's probably one of the cooler patches I have.
I like the little deer on top.
Yeah, antlers.
That's right. All right, so that's that.
Do you have enough crystals?
Oh yeah, I got more than enough. I should have showed you that. Is what I should have done.
You positive?
No,
I don't think you have enough.
Hold on, my wife keeps buying them for me. I got plenty of these things. I'm telling you, she's trying to put a hex or curse or something on me. So hold on, I'll bring it back up and show you here. Hold on, let me join. Good Lord, I think I know how to operate my own show. Yeah, work cat mobile joined.
No.
Yeah, she's.
Ooh, I like the yellow one.
It's Bumblebee Jasper. And that's Gold Obsidian. I don't know what some of these are. So, but yeah, you got to peek on my desk here where I got all kinds of stuff. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So you have your own coin back there, Dinosaur VMS?
Yep. I earned that one. So yeah. Yeah, I earned that one. And I have my sergeant. I look at him every day. Line of duty death, state of Georgia says didn't happen, did happen. So I have him there to remember him every day. Yeah, and my cluttered desk, but yeah, and I got all these coins or these rocks. I'm telling you, my wife's trying to put a curse on it. So if y'all hear me clicking while we're doing a show, I'm playing with one of the rocks. This is just part of it. There's a bowl over here she gave me. So
there you go. Oh, take the weapon off the screen.
Oh, that's right. I don't get in trouble for weapons violation. So
yeah, that's all you need.
I have almost served my sentence. So
you're getting there. You got like another week to go.
24th, I believe, is when it is up. I don't know. All right. Yes, Grady Judd. He's a great sheriff and a great citizen. Andy, they asked what kind of overdose. Was it fentanyl?
Actually, heroin.
Wow. That's unusual these days.
It's usually all fentanyl.
Yeah. I showed you all the one I got from Key West, didn't I? Did I show you that one?
I think so.
I didn't remember ordering it, but apparently I did months ago.
Oh, yeah. And when you got it, you're like, what did I order?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
that's
cool.
really nice.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it's to raise money for an officer.
Oh.
They did it in yeah, I apparently bought it like in March. It just showed up right before we left to go on vacation, so it was fun. Any other horror stories for Friday the 13th, Andy? Horror show?
Nope, nothing around here.
Other than there was the one threat in Chapmanville today, and then there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
Jesus.
13, 14.
About 15.
14 yesterday, which they did end up closing some of the schools. And then on the 11th, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
Lord.
19, 20, 21. There was 21 on the 11th, and then the 10th, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 on the 10th, and then on the 9th, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How's that playing out up in your area, Andy?
9, 10, 11.
What's
There's
that?
11.
With the threats against the schools, how's that working out in your area? Have you all had a lot of that?
We actually had yesterday and the day before, there wasn't threats, but 5 of the schools in the area were shut on lockdown due to a suspicious person walking on school property.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
a
then they
lot
brought-
of these were just suspicious.
And then they brought the
Things.
canine dogs, and the dog couldn't find anybody.
Well, I read it was on Yahoo News, so I don't know if it's a thing or not, because Yahoo was also the one prior to the debate that ran the story about the animals getting eaten, and then it was retracted. But apparently, since then, it's not been retracted. I'm not sure. I'm confused about it. But they said that over the course of the next week, school week, that there would probably be as much as 20 to 25% of the school systems nationwide shut down because of fear. Or they suspect that parents aren't going to send their students to school and they will have even lower attendance, which I think is probably more feasible.
Yeah.
We just had the attack here in Atlanta. Well, it wasn't Atlanta, but just outside of Atlanta. It's a horrible thing. And Georgia has got the law where they go after the parents. So, but I did question something about that though. And just from my legal way of thinking, they're charging him as an adult. He's 14. He deserves to be charged as an adult. Unfortunately, the death penalty is not on the table. But they're charging him as an adult. But then they're also charging his parents, or his parent, his father, because his mother was already in jail, with the same crimes for allowing a 14-year-old to have a gun.
Yeah, because the father bought the boy the gun on his birthday.
Bought the gun and let him have access to it, knowing he had issues. But here's my problem with this.
Well, if they're trying him as an adult, why are they also trying the father?
Why are they trying the father? I think that's going to be a big problem for the state of Georgia.
Well, did you hear?
I have a disagreement with it. I charge him, put him in jail. But
did you hear the year before he had issues with the kid had issues with the FBI?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he was well known in their system too.
Yeah, how is it you were 13 years old and you're known by the FBI? That just blows my mind. I mean, I'm being serious. I mean, unless you're Brenda's kid, but how does that happen? I just
being a little crazy.
Yeah, but why did they do something? I mean, I don't. I know it's a slippery slope and all, but gosh, look at the amount of lives that could have been saved, or the lives changed by that. Even not just necessarily saved, because I think I said this out in the group chat. One of the things I think we need to start doing, when I say we, fire rescue needs to start doing, is we need to have a response team of mental health workers.
Yeah, who were you telling that to?
Because EMS was overwhelmed with people having legitimate anxiety and panic attacks.
I think you guys were talking about that Saturday. You and Aaron.
I think that needs to be something that's addressed, because it's a legitimate problem, but at the same time, you can't slow this wheel down, because there's only so long you have to get trauma victims to the hospital. It's called the golden hour. And so I think we need to drop back as responders and reevaluate that. I think that needs to be done. So, but who am I? I'm just an old retired paramedic that is out of the loop anymore. I've run mass shootings. They're no fun. So I don't ever care to run another. So I've run multiple mass casualty incidents. So, don't care to do that again either. But, it's something we have to train for. It's something we have to prepare for. It's something as a country that unfortunately we're going to have to be ready for.
Well, we should have already been ready for it, unfortunately.
Well, I agree. But, like take the Kentucky incident. Mm-hmm. Out of all the years I trained for all kinds of things, I don't ever recall training for somebody taking shots at a highway. And prior to, the only time I remember it was the DC sniper. Of course, I grew up in DC, so I knew about the DC sniper, but that was different than this guy. That guy would go, he had a car and a kid. It was a really weird story. And they would go sit and they would just randomly do it one round and then be gone before. Of course, this is way back before we had the technology we do now, but so we don't train for that stuff. But I remember in the 80s, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I remember
they didn't train for your situation either.
No, but that's it. You can't train for everything. But I was going to say, I remember in the 80s, one of them, and I still have the textbook from the federal government. It had the Twin Towers on the front of the building with crosshairs on them. It's in the 80s. I don't know. Call me conspiracy theorists, I guess, if you want, but I think we saw that one coming.
I think it was one of those it's only a matter of time situations.
I just didn't think it would be as catastrophic as it was.
Well, and supposedly they have plans out there as well for if there's a zombie apocalypse, but yet they can't they can't they can't train people on what needs to be what needs to be done if you're confronted with a dog or.
We took a class that was given by the CDC that they said was turning people into zombies. It was the bath salts. So.
No, you know what's going to start doing that? Well, it already has. As I watched a really sad, short little documentary on it. But is the worst version of fentanyl. Trank. That's pretty much what it's doing.
I've not heard of that one. Is that a new one or?
Newer. Whenever I was watching the little documentary about it, it was apparently very rampant in Pennsylvania. But they were interviewing a lady who she was going about making the fentanyl, and she was saying, well, we put the colored food dye in here so that it's actual fentanyl and it's not something fake. Because as soon as those people will take like the trank, they're just like,
I mean, I ran plenty of them, I know.
And
we were running one a day at least, or one a shift at least.
They were showing the videos, which looked very similar to like Skid Row, of the tents and everything that they had set up to treat people, and it's like eating away at their flesh.
Wow.
There was a homeless guy that like. They were trying to convince him to like go in and be seen because he was going to end up like losing his foot. And then the people that like just right here on their arms, it'll start eating away at the flesh.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Weird thing is, I was a tox medic. I was on a hazmat team, and people just don't realize there's stuff out there that you can get at Dollar General. It's the internet. You can find anything now on the internet. So, but it's a different world. But I'll tell you what, and I'll be honest with you. If they called and said, we need you to hop back on the fire truck right now, I'd be on the fire truck. The ambulance? No, I wouldn't be on the ambulance. Doctor wouldn't let me get on the fire truck, but I'd be on the fire truck if they'd let me. I do miss the ambulance because you got to make a difference and help people. It was fun, but it has definitely, since I started in the 80s, changed a lot. So,
well, there's so much more that is not common sense anymore. Oh yeah. I mean, you're never going to rule out the stupid people. I mean,
It's going to happen.
So it all has to be.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason they put a warning on coffee and chili at Wendy's. Because somebody somewhere.
What do you mean this is hot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Screw off, Grandma.
I used to love running the car wrecks where they're on the phone with their lawyer.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Like, you want me to talk to him or can you hang up? Because we got to take care of you. So
That can wait. Just
yeah.
We had a call 3 years ago. It said for an explosion out on a front porch. Thinking, okay. And then they said, be advised you have a burn victim. And I'm like, oh crap, this can't be good. Come to find out, the guy was sitting on his front porch on oxygen, decided to smoke a cigarette, and blew up in his face. Then 2 minutes prior to getting him into the helicopter, he wanted the paramedics to stop so he could smoke another cigarette.
Yep.
And guess what he did 6 weeks after he got out of the hospital?
Burn himself
the same
again.
thing over again.
The same damn thing over again.
Yeah. Didn't learn.
Nope.
Yep. But you would be surprised what the human body can tolerate. Like the guy got struck by lightning. He was like, man, he was a badass, but
You can't.
Yeah, really.
You can't fix stupid.
No, you can't.
no, actually I had a EMS rule about that.
Yeah.
You can't kill.
Where's your sound effect? You didn't play your sound effect.
Which one? I got so many.
Hosea.
Oh, I'm mourning. So
Still.
have you seen
I'm a badass.
what they have done to them?
No.
Okay, so
I just saw what you sent today with
janky
or ice in her titties.
stands for something. I don't know what it is, but
So is that what the name spells out?
yeah, it means something janky. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they are living in the backyard for the next week. They cannot go inside. They cannot shower. They've got a bathtub, but they have to share the same water. It's kind of weird. And their diet consists of pizza, ice cream, hot dogs, hamburgers for a week.
I can get behind that.
I mean, you know who was complaining about it already, but
When is she not?
She's already crying. Leo.
I don't even like hot dogs.
Yeah, I bet you don't, Angela.
They're conspiring against me.
Well, this is one of the things. They're also in a heat wave in California, and they got them out on the back deck, and they can't go in. So a couple of them are really suffering now. Like Rabina, she's used to from being in the Philippines, and I think Chemo from Hawaii,
Yeah.
he's probably doing okay. I'm not the others, but you saw they're suffering. And
Well, so that makes sense now why T-Core had that thing on her.
yeah, it was an 18-hour competition, and Leah won it.
Now, I did see something in the chat about her winning, but I didn't know what she won.
Yeah, it was 18-hour endurance comp. And she said this, so we can put it out there. She started her cycle during the competition.
Yeah, she was free bleeding.
Yeah, but didn't give up.
I mean, I'll give the girl props.
Hey, by all means.
At that point, there's nothing you can really do.
I
If you're in the middle of the comp.
I guess you could give up, but no.
That wasn't going to happen.
No. And so props to her. She's tougher than I thought she was.
Well,
So,
I mean, you called it that it was going to be down to her or I think you said her and Rabina.
Yeah, her Rabina would probably
or her and MJ. Something like that.
But I don't know what the comp was, but I don't know. So the backyard looks like a carnival and you can't go inside. So, but they have
They
all
didn't-
the pizza,
they didn't
hot
even
dogs,
give-
hamburgers they want.
They didn't give him any cotton candy?
I don't know if they did. They got the sugars. So,
Make sure they sniff it out first.
yeah. Oh, that back deck is going to be rank in a couple days.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody
They're
said
gonna
they thought it was because of the earthquake that they did that, but this is an elaborate set they had set up. So
I'm interested to see what they'll do with the inside then.
yeah, they've got to be doing something on the inside, but since they've got it blocked out. So yeah, they did something similar to this before, and it was a dual HOH. And the loser, the first one out loser was the head HOH, but they couldn't go in. They could only stay outside for a week, and they got to put up 2 people. And the people on the inside couldn't go out nor communicate with them. And by the way, they dropped out. They didn't drop out like, Chemo may have dropped out before T-Core. Well, Chemo would have been inside and T-Core was outside or vice versa. They couldn't communicate. They couldn't do their, well, let's put this person up. And so they could only put the people up that were inside the house, and the people that are outside could only put the people up that were outside. That was a very weird twist. And it made quite a few people angry. So that was when Kyle, he was on the outside and he said something really stupid on the live feed that was taken out of context. I mean, it was still wrong what he said, but he was crucified and couldn't defend himself because he was stuck out there. And so he was voted out. So I'm curious to see. There's not a double eviction next week. So it's probably the week after. Unless they do the strange twist where...
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah. I mean, we've already had Quinn from Sliders there. So... Did a great job. Kangaroo Jack did a great job. All right. Well, we've digressed. So we've gotten off topic. Andy, you got anything else to talk about or...
Not much.
No. All right. Well, you talk too much.
I would say the Q word, but I'm afraid if I say that, all hell will break loose.
Hey, you live up there, not me. So
I know.
We'll have to teach Cheyenne all these intricacies soon, I think. So
I'm not sure I want to know.
Andy, go ahead. Say the word. Say it, Andy. Say it.
It's quiet.
There you go. Yeah, you don't say that in fire EMS.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't say that in police, fire, EMS, or hospital.
I was going to say you don't say it in the hospital either.
Mm-mm. And I'm sure they're busy on a Friday the 13th. So
Oh, yeah.
So
I guess I take it Bobby survived being in Maryland.
As far as I know, yeah, he doesn't have
He
any.
didn't come back with food poisoning, so that's good.
Our prison tats. So
He got a very tasteful tramp stamp
Oh, did he?
it says Wawa.
with a little Bucky's beaver beside of it.
Oh,
That's right.
yeah, he sent me a picture. Look what I found. It's a Wawa.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
It's funny whenever I would check bank statements for Travis's dad, I was like, is the bank putting Walmart on there weird? No, and Travis is like, no, that's a place. And I was like, all right.
Wawa? What's a Wawa? All right. Well, we have coming up Monday, the big chat where we'll talk about everything Big Brother, and looking forward to finding out about that. And then on the 18th is Wednesday, the Paranormal Guys. We've got a person that is a magician on the first hour. And the second hour, we've got another author. So, and she's got some great stories. So we got that coming up. Next week, we do not have a Grin and Guardian scheduled. So I think what we're going to do is just from here on out is just schedule them when we can. We have had some difficulty securing co-hosts. Cheyenne and Andy do a great job, but you all can't be on every show. So
I just clean rooms for a living.
oh, stop it. You're more important. You do good stuff. So Andy said he wants you to come clean his room though. So
No.
There'll be pickles in it for you. Look, she's thinking, isn't she?
If I go to Knoxville, I'll
Pay me
get
enough.
you some. If I go to Knoxville soon, I'll get you some of that pickle moonshine. So, trust me, it will be shipped unopened.
Yeah.
Will not even smell it. I can promise you.
Oh, I'll just be.
Oh, by the way, what is a pickle shot?
It's either a pickle flavored shot or you take a shot out of a pickle.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, somebody asked me about that, and they were like, "You know about the pickle shots?" I'm like,
Well, it's either
The
alcohol
pickle juice.
tasted like that tastes like pickles. It's flavored with pickle juice, or somebody has carved out
The
a
middle.
pickle, and you take the shot out of the pickle.
"Oh, that sounds even worse."
But you can eat it after.
Sounds even worse. All right, everybody, have a great night. We will see you soon. Have a happy Friday the 13th.
See ya.